Synchronize. Hello, my name is Dr. Chuck, the science schmuck. What's my PhD in? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Before you ask, yes, it's filmed on a potato. It's not actually a potato, it's a very cheap camera. I should have known that maybe I wouldn't get the best quality when I bought a camera that didn't even have a brand name. It's just HD camera, but HD, I can't think of an acronym for what that would be to be low quality. But yes, I also, based on focus testing of the previous experiment I had with this, I don't emote properly. I have a weird face. Also, this voice. I cannot stand the sound of my own voice. First time I ever really heard it in the past 10 years. I've got the nerdiest voice I ever did hear. So I'm working under sort of the principle that you see with somebody like, I don't know, Udo Dirkschneider, where looks don't really matter that much, and your voice just has to be distinctive. So, hopefully I can become able, not successful, but able with this voice and this face and this lab coat, which I actually own two, which is why I started this whole project. So, what am I doing? Mainly, I am so bored. That mannerism probably looks very dorky to you, but I'm bored all the time. I wake up, I go to my minimum wage job, I come home, I go to sleep. I get bored. I'm constantly bored. And that's a problem. So I recall to my youth, back in the ye olde days of yore when I was basically this size since I was in 6th grade. I'm not especially tall. So back then, I would always do these fun little projects. I would always think, oh, well, I'm going to go build a robot or, go metal detecting or do something fun. I don't do that anymore, and it bothers me. Mainly because now I have to actually spend my own money on it. Well, I guess I was spending my own money on it then, but I had more money as a kid than I do as an adult for some reason. But then I figure, wait a second, that's not true. I actually have way more money than I do as an adult because I've basically failed at life, so I've got like a ridiculous sum of money I'm not ever going to spend. So why not do those projects and film me doing those projects for my own narcissism? I mean, it's really for my own entertainment. So if this even ever makes it to YouTube, if I bother to post it, don't bother hitting like or subscribe. You don't have to. This isn't really for your entertainment so much as it is mine, which is why I thank you so much for being here. I mean, thank you for sharing this experience with me. Thank you for giving me the impetus to finally do things in life that make me slightly happy. Excuse me while I drink some coffee. Talking this much makes my mouth very dry. Oh, headphone in the way. Ugh. That's very room temperature. Just the way I like it. Now, this is kind of meant to be a little introduction. Not starting the numerous science projects I've come up with yet. Just to get the view of how to use the camera, the setup, Flowblade, which editing is not fun. I don't know how people make money. I know how people make money doing that because somebody has to be paid to do something that horrible, which basically describes my entire employment history. Except, no, I'm not an editor. So, my first thought is, well, why don't I just set up some of the equipment that I want to invent, that I need? So, first of all, when doing science, a lab coat strictly isn't necessary. It protects my clothes and makes me look like a pharmacist. What's the most important thing in science ever? Eye protection. That's way more energetic than I normally is. So, I had a pair of goggles that I really liked back, I don't know, a long time ago, but they got really gross. So, I'm going to attempt to clean them and polish them. But then comes the question, how do I do that cleaning and polishing if I'm cleaning and polishing my own eye protection? The answer, of course, being secondary eye protection. Always have backup. Eyes take forever to grow back, and it hurts to get something in your eye. I know I've gotten a lot of things in my eyes because I didn't wear eye protection. Also, it's the reason I don't wear contact lenses, because if you get ether in your eye with a contact lens, guess what? It's permanently fused. Also, electric arcing can fuse contacts to your eyes. I actually have terrible vision, can't even see the camera. These are not prescription, they're just eyeglasses. So, what have I doing? What have I doing? That's the life question I ask myself every day. Firstly, I have soaked these goggles in bleach to remove any unseemly residuals, and looking at the consistency of this, it's been about a half hour. You don't want to sit here and watch something sit in black for a half hour. There were a lot of unseemly residues in there. It just looks sort of cloudy. Now, I have these PVC gloves, which will protect my hands from the bleach. These are from my old job. I used to wash dishes. Hold on a second. Let me just check my audio track. I don't know if... Okay, it looks like it's still running. Neat. That's one thing, because this camera is so bad, it doesn't have a microphone, really. Or it has a terrible microphone. If you haven't noticed, I'm in a basement. The acoustics are not great. Also, smell that radon. I'm just kidding. Radon doesn't have a smell. So the audio track is actually recording through this dingus, this silly-looking dingus on my head, which is... I'll have to synchronize those together, which is going to be a pain, but it is doable if you have a lot of patience, which I'm not that kind of doctor. I don't have any patience. Anyway, back to the task at hand. As you can see, goggles dipped in bleach. They're not dissolving, but whatever was on them kind of was. Let me give those a few extra dips. Now, then I need to grab this. What's in this pot? Vinegar. Now, bleach is a strong base. Vinegar is... Well, bleach is a relatively weak base, but vinegar is a weak acid. So an acid and base neutralize each other, which is a problem with bleach, is that it stains clothes by bleaching them, obviously. So you can neutralize that by combining it with vinegar. Don't ever mix the bleach and vinegar. That's a mistake, because that'll actually cause gas release to a high degree, and you'll probably suffocate. Just kidding. You'll just be in a lot of pain. You won't actually suffocate. It is messy, though. Okay. So now, I've got these goggles, which have been processed with bleach and vinegar, so they shouldn't stain my white lab coat with bleach stains. Again, joking. White doesn't stain with bleach. It just gets whiter. Now, what are goggles made of? That's a good question. According to the label, they're made of Taiwan. In actuality, this particular goggles are made of polycarbonate, which is a hard plastic. Now, I looked up on the internet how to polish polycarbonate, and there were two types of recipes for how to polish things. One of the recipes involved a lot of butter, cabbage, and large sausage, but I don't think that's what we were looking for, so the other said baking soda. Let me just make sure my gloves are neutralized. So I've got here is a pot of good old Arm & Hammer baking soda. Because if you're not using Arm & Hammer, you might as well be using hammer and sickle. And a cloth, which is very soft, which I usually use to polish my car. It seems that I've run out of water. Let me just go to the sink and get some. It's always important to have a science sink. I don't have a science sink, of course. I have a basement sink. Which, it's great having a basement sink, but it's also kind of creepy. Like, why do you have a giant underground sink for washing things? I use it to wash a lot of blood. But anyway, mixing the baking soda and the water produces a sort of slurry. Not a tasty slurry at all. Ugh. okay, it tastes like baking soda, which is very salty. And also, like alkaline? You can eat it, it's fine. It's food. You use it in cooking. So I take this here polycarbonate, and I'll rub this. Now, either, it's always good when you're going into an experiment to know what's potentially going to happen. Three things could happen. One, it could polish the polycarbonate and make it smooth, and then it won't have all these scratches. That'd be what we want. Two, it could scratch the polycarbonate worse and make it totally opaque, in which case it's a good thing I've got more safety goggles. Or three, it could be not hard enough to polish, and it won't do anything. So let's see if it's one. I'm just gonna scrub-a-dub-dub, like 3 men in a tub, which that historical fairy tale probably has a reason for why there's 3 men in a tub. I don't actually know why there's 3 men in a tub. It's probably a metaphor for, like, industry. I mean, butcher, baker, candlestick maker. I mean, historically, candlesticks were made out of tallow, which is a product of animal fat. It's like a waxy junk. Like, it's gross. Which, although at the time you could eat candles. Like, they were made of fat. Basically, wax fat. I mean, in an emergency, you could eat it. You can't eat them now. Candles in modern times are made of paraffin, which is, like really hard Vaseline. And you can try to eat Vaseline if you want to. I don't recommend it. It's, not food. Well, that's coming apart. It's not a problem. That's what duct tape's for. It's not actually for taping ducks. Yes, I know, it's duct tape. However, because of this one, I have a ridiculous accent, which is why I don't pronounce T's at the end of words. Two, I got the nasaliest voice in history. So I've got, like, if I wasn't, physically imposing, which you can't really tell because I'm sitting, I probably would have been a lot more bullied in school, but actually most people in, like, New England are kind of nice, hence the accent. This is technically a Southern New York accent, in case you haven't noticed. I'm in the United States. This is, probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet underground in New York. Which, if you stop and think about it, I mean, this is what I was thinking about earlier today when I was doing all the setup. I mean, you see behind me, the wall is sort of a red color. That's the actual concrete foundation of this building. And above that is sort of cinder blocks, which that's about 5 feet. Which means if I were to lay on the floor, I'm not even as deep as a grave. Graves are really deep. Like, you're way under. I mean, that's kind of frightening, but, I mean, I guess it helps them from getting back up. I mean, it'd be really hard to get out of a grave. Like, if you were buried in there? I mean, if you're alive, that's a problem, but if you're dead, we really don't want you coming back. As unfortunate as that sounds, you're supposed to stay down there and, be dead. Of course, I'm not dead, hence why I'm in a basement and not a grave. Also, the humidity. I don't know why basements are humid. Well, I do know why. It's because there isn't good ventilation, and also we're surrounded by moist dirt. Very, very moist dirt. Okay. They're very baking soda-y. Let me walk over to the science sink and wash them off. It'd be nice if I had put the science sink behind me, but the science sink is way over here, and I wouldn't be able to have my whiteboard and stuff. I don't know why I'm yelling. You're still connected to my headset, so you should still be able to hear me pretty effectively. Oh, wow. Will you look at that? It looks like it worked pretty nicely. Oh, well, it looked like it worked pretty nicely when they were wet. I mean, let me just take off my gloves. Not deglove. I almost said deglove. Don't look up degloving. It's super gross. Also, never look up the Loa Loa worm. Now, these are not as sticky as they were. I don't know why they were sticky. I don't want to know why they were sticky. Let's see how... Huh. Well, since I don't have my glasses on anyway, it doesn't make a difference. I can't see a thing. So, I'll consider using those later. It's part of, I mean, let me do a technical explanation, as boring as it is. It's useful to have glasses that fully wrap around so that they get a seal against your face. It's kind of the difference between like shop glasses, like woodworking glasses like this, versus chemistry glasses. So if you're doing chemistry, if you have these on, you're protected from stuff that comes straight at you, but if you get some acid that goes over, it'll just go straight down into your eyes. And you do not want to mess up your eyes. Anything else you mess up isn't too bad. I can get acid on my arm and it's going to leave a big burn. It's like, oh, yeah, well, I can neutralize that and get a skin graft and heal that. If you get acid in your eye is done. There's no way to fix it. You've, at very best, you'll have like a milky white empty eye. At worst, they're going to have to pull it out and you're going to get a glass eye, which is kind of cool. Glass eyes are cool. Not making fun of everybody who's just got like a glass eye, but I'd rather keep both of them if possible for as long as I possibly can. Okay, so let's set that aside. I've got baking soda everywhere. Okay, before I move on to the second thing, let me just get some more coffee. Ah, coffee is good. I'll just put these back on because I haven't put the strap back on those now. Second thing I wanted to build. Now, the camera right now is stationary. It's on a rather tree-like looking thing that I made out of pressure-treated lumber. Basically, it's held on by a little bolt sitting on the bottom. I can't really pick it up and move it to show you anything close up, which is boring. This isn't very visually interesting. I know, I'm working on it. This is still a work in progress. I imagine this, if this ever becomes readily watched, it'll probably be years in the future when I perfected this. This is the very first episode. So, what I want to make is a way that I can show you what I'm seeing. Now, I guess I could have somebody implant a camera in my optic nerve, except that technology doesn't exist yet. Also, I don't want people touching my optic nerve. I don't even let eye doctors put eye drops in. Like, I will fight them to keep those eye drops out of my eyes. I have fought eye doctors before. It's why I don't go to eye doctors anymore. Also, why I'm wearing the same glasses I've worn for like 15 years. They don't work anymore. Can't see a thing. Hence why I don't actually care if I'm wearing them or not. So, now, what I have is this. This is a camera. It's a very small camera. I mean, it's not the smallest. It's like an okay camera. It's in that sort of class of electronics where it's too big for you to eat, but small enough that you could probably, I don't know, put it in your mouth? I'm not going to. I learned that already. So, this is essentially a very small camera. What I want to do is affix this to this old headlight. Now, this is, why am I wasting a perfectly good headlight? Because it's not. You're probably not old enough to remember or have observed or weren't paying attention. I don't pay attention to anything. The dawn of LED lights, when white LEDs were first invented in probably the early 2000s, they weren't very good. A headlight like this, when I was a kid, would have had an incandescent light bulb. Now it just has LEDs. But these are not good. It's not bright. Even if this worked still, you would get barely any light out of it. I mean, it's whenever you find an old flashlight, it's like, why is this light so dim? They couldn't make them. They hadn't figured out multi-chip LEDs. And now we have cameras that I can almost eat. What a world. What a time to be... Well, I'm not actually alive, technically. But what a time to be whatever I am. So, I'm going to affix this camera to this thing so that I can have a head camera. So that I can have Schmuckvision. Because I'm a schmuck, apparently. That's what they keep telling me. And my dissertation committee at Schmuck School, they're all like, "You're a schmuck! Get out of here, schmuck!" They didn't actually say that. They wouldn't talk to me. I've got hot glue. I like hot glue. I don't like eating it. I guess... I mean, oh, I left tooth marks. It's really chewy, but it's useful because it's good for adhering things. It's pretty durable, but it's also impermanent. It's not like cyanoacrylate superglue where it's stuck forever. You can peel it off with your hands, but it will usually hold things pretty well. So, I'm going to take this hot glue gun from this here Surebonder, and I'm going to hold this. Stop being slippery. I should have drank more coffee when both my hands were free. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the glue hole. That's not what that's what that hole is. It's not the technical term for what I'm doing. Noting that I already know the orientation of this camera, so that you will have a not upside down image. Don't burn me! Yeah, this stuff will hurt. Although I do recall one girl in 6th grade who apparently couldn't feel pain, I guess. She would just put hot glue on her fingers and just weird us out. I was always kind of jealous. I'm like, why can't I do that? Low pain tolerance. Almost blew, which I would have blown into my microphone. You would just hear me blowing. Oh, wait! That's what this whole episode has been. Me blowing. Let me put a little more glue in that glue hole. You know, my windows are open. I mean, they have to be to let the humidity out. And the radon. But my neighbor can probably hear me talking to myself. He probably I think he already knows I'm a weirdo. Whole neighborhood knows I'm a weirdo. Have you seen my backyard? You haven't seen it. You don't want to. Okay. So I glued it. With glue. Yes. Now, hopefully it still works. Now, what exactly is this camera? It's, made by a company called Owcam, which is not a good name. I would not have called it that. It's usually used for spy applications or like a nanny cam, so you would like hide it in a teddy bear and watch people. Not that I do that. Teddy bears kind of freak me out. They're weird. They sort of just stare and they're hairy and they're not really a bear. They don't even really look like a bear. You ever seen a bear? They look like, I don't know, big cats, but not really. I don't know, like dogs? Bears are weird. I don't much like bears. They're okay, but I don't want to fight one. I'm not Siberian. So, what do we do? This camera has a button on it. Let me turn that on. Turns red. And then it will turn green eventually. So, the camera is designed to link to this tablet, which it's not intuitive how it does it. It's kind of a weird system. But essentially the camera is a wireless generator somehow. It's not Bluetooth like you would expect. I don't know. I don't really know things. I'm not actually that smart. I think my IQ is somewhere around 82. Connect. Open the Owcam app. It sees my little camera. Open that up. Now, I press record, and it should automatically record through my tablet what this camera is seeing. Now, I previously tested this camera a little bit, and I have learned that it has pretty substantial lag. Ugh, I'm gonna need to hot glue that in a different way. Oop. Okay, so now you can see the camera that's actually filming me, also my furnace, and my underground garden, and my washing machine. So this would allow me to, if I was performing a function, I'd be able to look at it, and you should be able to see it. Hence, Schmuckvision. You now have the vision of a schmuck. Me. You see what I see. except with better quality because this camera, as bad as it is, actually sees better than my own personal vision. Now, let me shut that down. And glue! Made from horses. It's not actually made from horses. That refers to proteinaceous glue, which is not widely manufactured anymore. Modern glue does not have horses in it. Because I wouldn't eat a horse. They're horsey. I mean, they're made for riding, and, I don't know what else they're made for. They just do horse things. So, a summary of what I've actually managed to do is not much. Babble at a camera for like 30 minutes. It hasn't been 30 minutes. It's been about 15. In the middle of the night. Yes, I am drinking coffee in the middle of the night because I need to stay awake. Why? Because I don't like sleeping very much. I've polished these goggles, so they'll now be functional for applications, and I've invented Schmuckvision, so that you'll get a good view of my assorted schmuckery. I don't know when I'll film the next one, but ideally in the future, because it's very hard to film them in the past. Or is it? I don't have a time machine, because I don't know what you put time on. Probably what you put rosemary in. I do have rosemary. I have a lot of rosemary. That's going to be in my underground garden. So, I haven't come up with an extra yet. So, extra out.